Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Odom, and today we're going to talk about simple interest, section 6.7. Make sure you have your composition book, pencil, and a calculator because you're going to be using it to calculate simple interest. So, in order to do that, we have to know what simple interest is. So, interest is money paid or earned for the use of money. Okay. And there's basically two ways that interest is generated that we're going to talk about. The principal is the amount of money borrowed or deposited. So when we think borrowed, we think, oh, we're getting a loan. Okay. When you think borrowed, think loan. All right. You're going to get a loan from a bank for something. And then there's deposited, which when you think about that, think about your savings account in a bank. Okay. And so you can earn interest when you deposit money into a bank account, and you can owe interest if you get a loan for something like an automobile or some other types of things that um, have interest attached to them. So here is the definition for simple interest down here. Simple interest is money paid or earned only on the principal. Okay. There's other types of interest that you'll learn about later, but simple interest is money that's paid or earned only on what you start with. Okay, the principal. And there's a formula for this, and it is the interest equals the principal times the interest rate times the time. So I'm going to stop the video here because I want you to write these definitions down in your composition book. So if you're watching this on Edpuzzle, the video will stop now. Okay, so we're back. Hopefully you wrote those down. One of the things I forgot to talk about was our learning target, which is I can use the simple interest formula to calculate simple interest. And so I paused the video and actually typed that in there because there was something else there. All right. Here's another way to kind of look at simple interest. I kind of like this because it spreads everything out and you can see what all the different pieces in this simple interest formula mean. So simple interest is all by itself over here to the left of the equal sign. The capital P is the principal, and that's the amount of money that you borrow. Or when you go open an account, that's the amount of money you give the bank. You say, hey, here's my money, and you just leave it with the bank, and then they will pay you simple interest on that money. The interest rate, the annual interest rate is a percent. So 3%, 2%, negative 4%. Nope, can't have negatives. So it's always positive. And you are going to write your percent as a decimal, okay, in this formula. You can write it as a decimal. And then time, the key idea with time is it always has to be written in years. Well, Mr. Odom, what if I have a loan and it's only 4 months? Okay, how do I turn 4 months into a year? All right, so that's what I want you to tell me. How do you turn 4 months into a year? Okay, so those of you that know how to do it know that all you need to do is divide this by 12 because there are 12 months in 1 year, and then you will end up with 0.33 repeating, and then we can put years here. Okay, 0.33. So it's 1/3 of a year. All right, but that's how you do that. 6 months divided by 12, 7 months divided by 12, and you can turn it into a year. Let's work out some problems. So you put $500 into a savings account. That $500 represents the principal. The account earns 3% simple interest. That's your interest rate. And remember, we have to write that as a decimal. And it says per year. So there's your time right there. Your time is 1 year. We have two things we have to do. We have to figure out what's the interest earned after 3 years. So here you go. Our time for this problem in part A is 3 years. Okay, so actually I can take this well, no, that's fine. A per year means 1 year. So what is the interest earned after 3 years? And then this thing called the balance. What is the balance after 3 years? So how much money is in your savings account? So we always start with the formula. Interest equals the principal times the interest rate times the time. And then we plug in our values. 500 times 0.03 times the time, which is 3. And then we grab our calculator and we put in the numbers. 500 times 0.03 times 3, and we end up with this number here, which is 45. And that's dollars. The interest represents a dollar amount, so our units are dollars. So that's part A. We got it. All right. What about part B? What is the balance after 3 years? So here's a little formula for balance. Balance, we'll call it capital B, equals the principal plus the interest rate. It equals how much money you started with in the bank plus how much money you have earned while your money's been sitting in the bank. So all we have to do is add those two things together, 500 plus 45, and the balance in your account will be $545. So it's pretty cool. You give the bank some money to hold on to, and they will reward you with some interest. Okay, so that's how you calculate simple interest and how you calculate the balance. So here's another example. Um, you put $1,000 in an account, so that's your principal. The account earns $100 in simple interest. That is the I. And it earns it in 4 years. So that is your T. You want to know what's the annual interest rate. You're looking for R. So in this formula, interest equals principal times interest rate times time. You are looking for this. All right. And if we want to think about this algebraically, I could divide both sides by the principal and the time, the principal and the time. Why can I do that? Because over here, these things just cancel. They just go away, cancel each other out. So I'm left with the interest rate. And interestingly, I have a formula, interest divided by principal times time. Okay, so we can plug those numbers in and figure that out. So our interest rate for this problem will be the interest, which is $100, divided by the principal, which is $1,000, times the time, which is 4 years. Now you're going to put that in your calculator, and you'll get 100 divided by 1,000 equals that, and then you divide that by 4, and you get this, 0.025. Remember interest rate, we have to write it as a percentage, so I got to move this 2 places to the right. So this is the same as 2.5%. So there is your interest rate. All right. So let's look at these problems. In example 1, we want to know what is the balance of the account after 9 months. So example 1, what did we do? We looked at the interest earned after 3 years. We need to calculate the interest earned in 9 months. Okay, so let's calculate that. The interest equals the principal times the interest rate times the time. And for example one, what was our principal? It was $500. Our interest rate was 3%. So we have 500 times 3%. Two ways we can do this. I'm going to write this as a fraction. 9/12. That's 9 months. 9 months represents 9 months out of 12 months. So that's how I could write 9 months as a fraction or a decimal. If I wanted to write this as a decimal, I would write this as 500 times 0.03 times, and then in my calculator, I would put 9 divided by 12, and I would get this, 0.75. All right, so we multiply all that together, and we get, let me see here, we get this. Interest is 11.25. Remember, interest is dollars. So then we can calculate our balance. Our balance is our principal, which was $500 plus $11.25. So our answer for our balance would be $511.25. So that is for number one. So I'm going to stop the video here because I want you to work out problem number two in your composition books. So the video is going to pause now. Okay, we're back. So let's scroll down and see what we got for problem number two. All right, for problem number two, the principal, that's $350. The account earns $17.50 simple interest, that's our interest. In 2.5 years, there's our time. And you have to calculate the annual interest rate. I wrote the formula down and plugged in the numbers. I divided both sides by what I saw over here. So that way that cancels. I have to do that over here as well. And I end up with R equals 0.02, which I have to convert into a percent. Okay, so hopefully you got 2%. All right, here's another example. You borrow $600 to buy a violin. So now you're borrowing money. And so this is your principal. The simple interest rate is 15%. Writing 15% as a decimal, 0.15. And you pay off the loan after 5 years. How much did you end up paying for the loan? So you are going to pay more than that. So the bank gives you that, but you're going to pay them back more. Okay. So we still use the same formula. Interest equals the principal times the interest rate times the time, because we have to figure out how much interest we have to pay back along with that $600. So 600 times 0.15 times 5. And we put that in our calculator. 600 times 0.15 times 5. And we get 450. Okay. And what do we do with this? Well, we have to take, this is our interest. The amount we paid back for the loan, that would be the balance of the loan. It's the same as we used before. It's the principal, same balance formula we used before. So it's 600 plus 450. That equals $1,050. So what does that mean? That means that you are actually going to pay a lot more for your violin than if you would have just, bought it and didn't need a loan for it. You just paid cash. Okay, so that's a lesson learned that we adults learn throughout life when we make purchases and we buy things with credit cards or we get loans from banks. We end up paying more than what you see on the price tag. Okay, so let's look at problem 4. So what if in example 4, so example 4 is actually this example. I have 3, but it's actually example 4. So we'll just say in example 3, you pay off the loan after 2 years. Then how much do you owe? Okay, so here's an exercise to see basically if we pay off the loan sooner, how much will it cost? So let's calculate that interest again. It was 600 times 15% written as a decimal. This time we're going to put a 2 in here. All right. And so let's see how much that is. I think it's going to be about 180. 600 times 0.15 times 2 equals, well, I put the wrong thing in my calculator. 600 times 0.15 times 2 gives me the interest, which is $180. So now my balance, or what I owe for the loan, is less, right? Now I'm only going to have to pay $780 for a violin that costs $600. Hey everybody, Mr. Odom here. I'm back. This is 6.7. I was so excited to finish the lesson that I didn't even answer the last question correctly. So I'm making a quick video. This this question, which was part of our 6.7 lesson, we just talked about the violin, and then we wanted to know if we pay it off in 2 years, how much money do we save? So there's still a little bit of math we need to do here, right? We need to take 1,050. We need to figure out how much we're going to save. We need to take $1,050, and we need to subtract this $780 and see what we get. All right, 1050 minus 780. So that is $270. So this is how much money we would save if we pay off this loan in 2 years instead of taking 5 years to do it. Okay, so now we're done. We got this one done. Now I'm out.